June 1944, Normandy. German officers stare through their binoculars in disbelief. From the sea, an endless line of American tanks is crawling onto the beaches, Sherman after Sherman, landing faster than they can be destroyed. Panthers fire, Shermans burn, but for every tank that explodes, two more take its place. It's not just an invasion anymore, it's a flood of steel, powered by the factories of America. For the first time, the Germans realize they're not fighting an army. They're fighting an entire nation of machines. The steel tide at Normandy. June 10, 1944, Normandy, France. The morning fog clings low over the beaches, grey, heavy, and thick with the smell of salt and diesel. Waves roll against the shore littered with twisted metal, shattered landing craft, and the bodies of men who'd paid the price for the first step of liberation. Beyond the surf, the sea still swarms with ships, hundreds of them, stretching to the horizon like a floating city of steel. And aboard those ships, rumbling in the belly of the cargo holds, waits the heartbeat of America's war machine, the M4 Sherman tank. On a low hill near the village of Colville-sur-Mer, German Oberstleutnant Franz Kruger peers through his field glasses. What he sees makes his stomach tighten. Below, in the shallows and the sand, endless waves of American vehicles are rolling ashore, trucks, jeeps, bulldozers, and tanks. Everywhere he looks, more machines are coming. He lowers the glasses slowly, as if the act might make the vision disappear. "Das ist unmöglich," he mutters. "It's impossible." Just 2 days earlier, his unit of Panzergrenadiers had received orders to counterattack near Caen. The assumption had been that Allied armor was still weeks away from building a proper beachhead. But as the sun burns away the fog, Kruger realizes how wrong that assumption was. Landing craft after landing craft opens its jaws, releasing Sherman after Sherman, green, boxy, unremarkable tanks that seem to multiply like insects crawling from the sea. The first American Shermans that push up the beach still bear scars from the crossing, salt streaks, welded armor plates, spare track links bolted onto their fronts for extra protection. On the flanks of one, the white star of the U.S. Army shines dull beneath the grime. A tank commander named Sergeant William "Bill" Harper pops his head out of the turret, scanning the cliffs with binoculars. His voice crackles over the radio. "Eagle Red 1 to all tanks, move inland, watch for panzer positions in the treeline ahead." Engines roar, tracks bite into the sand. Dozens of Shermans roll forward, their 75 guns pointing toward the hills where the Germans wait. Kruger's own panzers, sleek Panthers with sloped armor and high-velocity guns, move into position. When they open fire, the first Sherman explodes, then another. For a moment, it seems as if German steel has reasserted its dominance. Kruger's crew cheers, but their celebration doesn't last long. For every Sherman destroyed, two more appear. The distant thunder of naval guns pounds the countryside. The horizon itself seems to crawl with tanks, more than the Germans can possibly count. By afternoon, the landscape has changed. Smoke drifts across the hedgerows. The beaches are now assembly lines of war, with engineers laying down metal mats, cranes unloading crates of ammunition, and lines of Shermans driving inland in neat columns. Kruger's radio fills with frantic reports. Bunkers overrun, gun positions silenced, bridges lost. He wipes the sweat from his brow and looks again through his binoculars. Another wave of tanks, another wave after that. How many can they possibly have? He asks his adjutant, though the question has no answer. In his heart, Kruger knows what he's seeing is more than a battle, it's an industrial avalanche. Each tank destroyed today will be replaced tomorrow. Each explosion on the beach is just a spark in the furnace of American production. That night, as darkness settles and tracer rounds streak the sky, Harper's crew parks their Sherman in a French orchard. The engine ticks as it cools. Private Mason leans against the hull, smoking quietly. "You think they'll ever run out of panzers?" he asks. Harper smirks. "Doesn't matter," he says. "We'll just send more." On the ridge above, Kruger listens to the distant clatter of tank treads echoing through the night. The sound doesn't fade, it grows. For the first time, he feels something the Wehrmacht was never supposed to feel. Dread. The kind that comes when you realize you're fighting not just an army, but an entire nation of factories. The machine behind the front. Back in Germany, they had a word for what was happening, Materialschlacht, the battle of materials. But even that term couldn't capture what the Americans were unleashing in France. This wasn't just a battle of tanks, it was a battle of production, a contest of nations' ability to feed war itself. While German factories struggled under Allied bombing, across the Atlantic, entire cities had turned into assembly lines. In Detroit, the Chrysler tank arsenal worked day and night, pouring molten steel into molds, stamping out turrets, fitting engines, one Sherman every 30 minutes. Ford's massive Willow Run plant, once building cars, now rolled out B-24 bombers with the precision of a clock. At peak capacity, America was producing nearly 2,000 tanks a month. And those tanks were not trickling to Europe. They were arriving in convoys so vast that German U-boats couldn't sink enough of them to make a difference. Liberty ships, built in days, not months, carried them across the Atlantic like floating conveyor belts. Each ship held dozens of Shermans, and the moment one was unloaded, another took its place. On the beaches of Normandy, this industrial rhythm was becoming visible to the enemy. In the small French village of Villers-Bocage, Kruger's surviving unit huddles in a farmhouse courtyard. Around them lie the burnt-out hulks of Panthers and half-tracks. The ground smells of fuel and cordite. His adjutant hands him a captured American ration tin, beans and bacon, still warm from a knocked-out truck. Kruger turns it over in his hands, staring at the words, packed in Chicago, Illinois. Chicago, he repeats softly. The name means nothing to his men, but to him it's a symbol, a reminder that while the German army fought tooth and nail for every field, America could build an entire war from half a world away. Far to the west, Sergeant Harper's Sherman rumbles down a narrow hedgerow lane. His crew has already replaced 2 tanks this week, one hit by a Panzerfaust, another bogged down and abandoned under fire. Both were replaced within hours. Trucks from the beachhead brought new machines as if they'd been waiting in line. When Harper's new Sherman arrived, it even came with a fresh coat of olive paint, a crate of rations, and spare parts. Mason, the loader, had joked, "Feels like we're driving off a dealership lot." But the German experience couldn't have been more different. Replacement tanks were rare, fuel was scarcer still, and ammunition convoys often never made it past Allied air attacks. For every Panther that reached the front, 5 Shermans were already on the road behind the lines, waiting to join the fight. As Allied forces pushed towards St. Lo, Kruger received an order that chilled him: defend at all costs. But what did that mean when the cost was already beyond payment? Each counterattack ended the same way, Panzer guns firing until they overheated, ammunition running dry, positions overrun by waves of Shermans that refused to stop coming. In the command dugout, Kruger marks his dwindling armor strength on a map. 10 tanks operational yesterday, 7 today, 4 tomorrow if the fuel holds. He grips his pencil so hard it snaps in his hand. By now, he knows the truth that few dared to say aloud. Germany could win battles, but America could win wars. Outside, Harper's crew sits atop their Sherman, eating from their ration packs as the sun sets over the French fields. Behind them, endless columns of tanks move forward, their engines humming like the heartbeat of an empire. Kruger watches from a distance through his binoculars one last time. The road beyond the village is clogged with Shermans as far as the eye can see, their turrets glinting in the fading light. He lowers the glasses, breathes deeply, and whispers to no one in particular. Even if we destroy them all, they will build more. By late July 1944, the thunder of engines had become the soundscape of Normandy. From the beaches to the bocage, the ground itself seemed to rumble with the steady advance of Allied armor. The Americans called it the Steel Tide. To the Germans, it felt like a flood that no dam could hold. At dawn near St. Lo, Sergeant Harper's Sherman spearheads a column of tanks advancing through narrow lanes. The smell of crushed grass and diesel fills the air. His gunner, Corporal Evans, squints through the sight. "Panzer at 1 o'clock, he shouts. The turret turns, the 75 cannon booms, and a shell streaks into the tree line. A Panther explodes, flames bursting from its engine deck. "Good hit," Harper says calmly. He's seen too many now to celebrate. Another Sherman rolls past the burning wreck, treads clanking over the earth, continuing the push. Behind them, more tanks, fresh, fueled, and ready. The line never ends. In contrast, Kruger's world is collapsing. His command post outside St. Lo is a shattered farmhouse surrounded by the wrecks of his own armor. Smoke coils into the morning sky. His mechanics work frantically on a disabled Panther, scavenging parts from others that will never move again. Each one bears the scars of war, cracked armor, missing wheels, burnt paint. Where are the replacements? Kruger demands over the radio. The answer crackles back through static. None available, Herr Oberstleutnant. The rail lines have been bombed again. He leans back in silence. Even the Luftwaffe, once their shield in the sky, is gone, grounded, fuel-starved, or hunted by Allied fighters. Every day the Americans push further inland, and every day more Shermans pour in behind them. The German officers who once spoke of quality over quantity now whisper the opposite. What good is quality when the factory that makes your machines no longer stands? Far away across the Atlantic, those factories hum without pause. In Pittsburgh, steelworkers pour molten metal beneath the glow of furnaces. In Chicago, women weld armor plates. In Detroit, the sound of stamping presses echoes through the night. They don't see the battlefields, but their hands are shaping them. Each rivet, each shell, each tank part is a promise that every loss will be replaced. By early August, Operation Cobra begins. The American breakout from Normandy turns the front into chaos. German lines buckle. The 2nd and 3rd Armored Divisions roar through the gaps, Shermans surging forward in waves, their engines drowning out the last resistance. The countryside shakes under the sheer movement of mechanized might. Kruger and his remaining men retreat toward Falaise. Their Panthers are down to fumes. The roads are choked with refugees, wrecked vehicles, and smoldering columns. When they finally take cover in a grove of trees, Kruger walks among the ruins of what had once been a proud Panzer battalion. He stops beside a burned-out Panther and runs his hand along the cold steel. "We had the best tanks," he murmurs to his adjutant, "but they had everything else." In the distance, Harper's unit halts near a ridge overlooking the valley. Below, the remains of German armor litter the fields, blackened husks half buried in mud. The men of his crew climb down, silent, staring at the devastation. Evans wipes the soot from his hands. "Hard to believe they ever thought they could stop us," he says. Harper looks out at the horizon where more Shermans are already on the move. "They didn't understand," he replies. "This isn't just an army. It's an assembly line on tracks." That night, under the glow of burning fields, Kruger writes his final report. "Our losses are irreplaceable. Enemy production is infinite. Suggest withdrawal." He sets the paper aside, knowing it won't change the outcome. For him, the war's end has already arrived, not in surrender, but in realization. The moment he saw tanks arriving faster than they could be destroyed, he knew Germany was doomed. And as the engines of Allied armor roar through the night, the sound carries with it the truth of modern war. Victory no longer belongs only to the battlefield, but to the factory floor.